Yes, please. It is not difficult.
It is not difficult by some construction of the philosophic reason or of theological reasoning to circumvent the difficulty. It is possible to erect a fenior deity like the gods of Epicurus, blissful in himself, observing but indifferent to a world conducted or misconducted by a mechanical law of nature. It is open to us to foist a self witness, a silent soul in things, a Purusha who allows nature to do what she will, and is content to reflect all her order and all her disorders in his passive and stainless consciousness, or a supreme self, absolute, inactive, free from all relations, unconcerned with the works of the cosmic illusion or creation, which has mysteriously or paradoxically originated from it or over against it to attempt and afflict the world of temporal creatures. But all these solutions do no more than reflect the apparent dissonance of our twofold experience. They do not attempt to reconcile, neither do they solve to or explain it, but only reaffirm it by an open or convert dualism and an essential division of the indivisible. Practically, there is affirmed a dual Godhead, self or soul and nature. But nature, the power in things, cannot be anything else than a power of the self, the soul, the essential being of things. Her works cannot be altogether independent of soul or self, cannot be her own contrary result and working unaffected by its consent or refusal, or a violence of mechanical force imposed on an inertia of mechanical passivity. It is possible again to poise an observing inactive self and an active creating Godhead. But this device cannot serve us, for in the end, these two must really be one in a dual aspect. The Godhead, the active aspect of the observing self, the self a witness of its own Godhead in action. A discord, a gulf between the self in knowledge and the same self in its works, needs explanation. But it presents itself as unexplained and inexplicable. Or, again, we can foist a double consciousness of Brahman, the reality, one static and one dynamic, one essential and spiritual, in which it is self perfect and absolute, another formative, pragmatic, in which it becomes not self, and with which its absoluteness and perfection have no concern of participation. Or it is only a temporal formation in the timeless reality. But to us, who even if only half existent, half conscious, yet inhabit the Absolute's half dream of living and are compelled by nature to have in it a terrible and inconsistent concern and to deal with it as real, this wears the appearance of an obvious mystification. For this temporal consciousness and its formations are also in the end a power of the one self. Depend upon it, can exist only by it, which exists by the power of the reality, cannot be unrelated to it, or that unrelated to the world of its own powers making. If the world exists by the Supreme Spirit, so also its ordering and relations must exist by the power of the Spirit. Its law must be according to some law of the spiritual consciousness and existence. The self, the reality, must be aware of and aware in the world consciousness which exists in its being, a power of the self. The reality must be constantly determining or at least sanctioning its phenomena and operations. For there can be no independent power, no nature not derived from the original and eternal self existent. Uh, Hold on.
If it does no more.
I just lost it.
Yeah, that
The
happens.
reality must be constantly determining or at least sanctioning its phenomena and operations. For there can be no independent power, no nature not derived from the origin and eternal self existence. If it does no more, it must still be originating or determining the universe through the mere fact of its conscious omnipresence. It is, no doubt, a truth of spiritual experience that there is a status of peace and silence in the infinite behind the cosmic activity, a consciousness that is the immobile witness of the creation. But this is not the whole of spiritual experience, and we cannot hope to find in one side only of knowledge a fundamental and total explanation of the universe.
Okay, it's a very big para, and we will look into each one. Basically, what Srinivas is doing, he is examining, we have a problem in front of us. There is the divine and there is the undivine. Okay? Now, it is possible to say that that is the nature of the universe. There is a divine and there is an undivine. There are many philosophies which say that and stop at that. But we have started from the Advaita philosophy. Everything is only divine. There is no undivine. Okay. So what he is examining all the possible theories which say that there is a divine and an undivine. Okay. So that's what he is explaining. And then he counters each possibility with his own philosophy. So he corrects that. Okay. So this is what he is doing. And there are many theories which are really that. They insist that there is a divine and there is an undivine. Because that's what we see in spiritual experience also we experience that. So you can't challenge them. But Swami is saying that's not the only one, that's only a partial experience. You have to go beyond and you will see that there is a better solution. That's what he's discussing in the whole para. So what we'll do now, I will first of all we'll read the summary and then we'll go into each one because we have to identify the words. Okay. So now what he's saying here is like this in this para that we just now read. Okay. Some other solutions constructed by theology or philosophy can be offered for this imperfection of the physical world. There is no doubt that there is a physical world is imperfect, and we can offer many explanations depending at which level we are. So there is level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. Okay. Srimda wants to go to the absolutely the highest level which explains really and doesn't state a fact. Just there is a divine and an undivine. He is not satisfied with that. So the first case, I have called it A, number 1. A faineant God who, self-satisfied with himself, only observes the world without interest or interference, like Epicurus' God. Okay? So this is one possibility. And this is a fact because all those who have gone to that level of consciousness, they say that yes, there is one who is perfect. Okay, he is absolutely calm, peaceful and all. He is very satisfied with himself and doesn't care for the world. He has no interest in the world. This is theory number 1. And that's exactly what the Mayavadins say. That's also what the Buddhists say. Okay? That's also what many other religions also say. That God is perfect only above. Below he is not interested. It is true that it is imperfect. Case number 1. Then we come to case number 2. We may say the same thing in other words. A witness, self, silent, in his passive, stainless consciousness. Okay. So first case, there is a divine and there is an imperfect world, and the divine doesn't care one jot for the lower one. That's the first case. That also is there because the permanent imperfection of the world is there, number 1. Now he's saying we can say the same thing with a slight twist. We'll say it's not that the divine is not at all interested in the world. He is interested and he is connected, but he allows the imperfections to happen. That is, he is allowing. He is Purusha and he allows force to do what it wants. He is not interfering. Okay? It's like a parent not interfering with the child doing whatever he wants to do. He is not even trying to correct. Okay? So this is the second case. He is interested in the child. The first one, he is not even in. The parent is not interested in the child. Let him do whatever he wants. Let it be imperfect, doesn't matter. Second case, just now what we read, he is interested, he is connected, but he says, I will not interfere. Let the imperfections be worked out by my force. I don't care. Third case, a supreme self, inactive, relationless, has originated the world but remains unconcerned with its activities. So this is the third case. So third case is that yes, the parent realizes that I have only created the child. Okay? And yet I am not interested. So you see the subtle distinctions. Case number one, there is a child. I am not even the parent of the child and he can do whatever he wants. I am not interested. Second one, no, he is my child. Not that I have created him. He is my child. But I allow him to do whatever he wants. The third case also is saying, you realize that the world has been created by you. Okay? But I am not interested. I am unconcerned with his activities. Yes, it's true that I have given birth to the child, but I am not interested in what he is doing. Let him do whatever he wants. Case number 3. Okay? Now, all these are only statements of fact, but do not solve the problem or reconcile the dichotomy. Because when you go to the self, these are the solutions offered. The Buddhistic solution, the Mayavadic solution, and even the Advaita solution in a certain sense. So this is the Advaita sense in the sense that the Shankaran philosophy of Mayavada, they say that the imperfection in the physical world is permanent. Now Sri is commenting himself. But all these are only statements of the fact, but do not solve the problem. What is the problem? Imperfection of the physical world. How can it be that the physical world has been created by the divine who is perfect? Impossible. I can't accept that. That is Sri Aurobindo stance. Okay? Others are saying, I can't help it. That's the nature of the universe. What is it? Something is white, something is black, something is blue, something is red. I can't say blue should have been red. It is like that. What can I do? That's what is. They will answer to you. The Buddhists will also answer like that. The Mayavadian also will answer like that. So they are saying, you may say that, but I don't accept it. Everything has to be white. Everything has to be perfect. So there must be a solution to the creation of the so-called imperfection in the physical world. All these are only statements of the fact, but do not solve the problem or reconcile the dichotomy. The dichotomy, the difference, the opposition between spirit and matter. The force in the world, which is the lower one, the force in the world cannot be independent. Now Sri is commenting himself. I have started with the Advaita philosophy, and if the Advaita, rather than not starting with Advaita philosophy, they are starting with other philosophies. But we have started with the Advaita philosophy. Everything is the physical world and everything is the divine. So if that is the fact, the force in the world cannot be independent, self-existent. It must be sanctioned by the supreme control consciousness. The divine himself must have allowed the world to be what it is. We have to explain that, but we will explain. Okay? That's what Sri is saying. There is a spiritual experience in nirvana that confirms the inactive self and the mechanical world. But it's only one aspect of the reality, and one aspect cannot explain the whole. In other words, all these three theories which I have discussed just now are possible because it is based in spiritual experience. But why do we think that that's a last spiritual experience? There's a gradation and you can go even higher and get a better solution. That's what he's saying. Okay? This is what he's saying in the para. He has discussed three possibilities And he's saying all of them are possible because it is based in spiritual experience. You accept it. Okay? What to do? The Christians also accept that there is a hell and a heaven. There is also the Manichaeanism. There is a hell and a heaven. Okay? Even to a certain, the Mayavada philosophy also says that. What can I do? It has been created in that way. That is the reality. They are only stating the fact, but not solving the problem. So, this is what Sri Aurobindo is saying. Now, we can go back to each sentence. Okay? It is not difficult. So, it is not difficult by some construction of the philosophic reason or theological reasoning to circumvent the difficulty. What is the difficulty? I have started with the theory, with the hypothesis that everything is divine. But on the contrary, in the physical world, I see that there is suffering. Even when I go to the spiritual level, I see that the suffering is there and it is imperfect. I see two things. I see a perfection above and I see an imperfection below. And I am puzzled. This is the problem for Sri Aurobindo. For the others, there is no problem. They will say, this is the fact. Okay? If something is blue, it is blue. I can't help it. This is how it is. This is the nature of the world. There is a divine and an undivine. It's not difficult by some construction of the philosophic reason. Even the Sankhya philosophy says that there is Purusha and there is Prakriti and they are eternally there. Okay? So this is what he is saying. So he is only giving a different, he is giving a logical gradation of this theory. I repeat again, it's very interesting the way he is analyzing. The first one, the divine has created the divine is not created. There is a divine and an undivine world. This is theory number one. In experience, spiritual experience, you can experience that. Okay? So, number one. Number two, the divine is connected with the lower, but allows it to do what it wants. It allows passively. You do what you want. But I am not going to interfere. The third one, you see that you yourself have created. The divine has created the lower, but it is not trying to control the thing. So these are the three possibilities of spiritual experience. You see that there is this thing. Sri Aurobindo is not satisfied with all that. If the divine has created the physical world, then it must be a reflection of the divine. How can it be imperfect? So we'll look into that. The rest of the chapters will explain that. So, he is talking about Epicurus. So, it's possible to erect a fainéant deity. Fainéant is a French word meaning disinclined to work or exert oneself. Okay. Irresponsible or lazy person. Fainéant kings whose kingdoms languished under his rule. So this is what he is saying. I'm reading out the dictionary meaning of the word. Disinclined to work or exert. Okay. See how interesting he's used the word, which is absolutely fits is what he's saying. The divine is not interested to exert itself or work in the physical world. Or you can also think of him as an irresponsible or lazy person. Okay, not interested in changing things. So this is a fainéant. And you can see that there is an accent on the E, so it's actually French-based word. Okay, so it's possible to erect a theory, a philosophic reasoning or theory or theological reasoning, to say that this is the reality. Like the gods of Epicurus, blissful in himself, observing but indifferent to a world conducted or misconducted by a mechanical law of nature. Whether it is correct or incorrect, I am not interested. Let it go on by itself. It is open to us to posit a witness self. And this is because it is based in experience, a witness self who only watches, a silent soul in things, a Purusha who allows nature to do what she will and is content to reflect all her order and all her disorders. This is the Mayavada theory. Okay. See, the Purusha is allowing Prakriti to throw the images on his own consciousness. Okay. It is something very similar to the cinema. The Purusha is the white.
Excuse me.
Yes, please tell me.
Who are the gods of Epicurus?
I will have to check that up. Okay. I'm not sure. But Epicurus was the one who gave the philosophy of Epicureanism. Okay. Epicureanism. That is, he is enjoyment. Enjoyment is the purpose of life. Okay. It's also called hedonism. So Shyamdeva is saying that, look, he's saying the gods of Epicurus, they are blissful in himself. He is enjoying and he is not bothered about anything else. Okay? Ananda, okay, if you want in Indian terms, this god is interested only in the Ananda, and whatever is there happening elsewhere, he is not interested. Okay? This is the hedonism, the philosophy of hedonism. So obviously, Epicurus was, he said that the gods are, they are enjoying themselves, but they are not bothered about the physical world. This is what I can make out from the text. And Epicurus, I am sure also, Epicureanism is the, he is the philosopher Epicurus who gave the philosophy of hedonism. There are others also who gave other philosophies in Greece. There is another one which posits the samatha aspect. Okay? That is the, what is it called?
Stoicism?
Correct. That's right. Stoicism. That's right. So Stoicism is the, it was by another philosopher. So that's one philosophy. And this philosophy is, Epicurus says, the enjoyment is the purpose of life. So,
Rangadhar,
yes.
is it similar to the Charvak philosophy of our India?
Yes, that's right. But that's at a physical level. That's right. But this is a spiritual philosophy. Okay, yeah, that's right. Quite right. The Charvaka philosophy or the hedonism in the Western philosophy. Yes, that's right. Enjoyment. Okay. So, but in our Indian philosophy of Charvaka, okay, there is something slightly. There are two types of enjoyments. One is a gross enjoyment of the desires of the vital and the body. But the other one is more refined enjoyment, the arts, the music, the beauty of painting, okay? The finer aspects of enjoyment certainly, but not gross enjoyments. That also is there in the in our philosophy of the Ananda aspect. That is also there. So Epicurus, yeah. So these three possibilities he is giving us. Now he is saying, we read that just now. The second one, it is open to us to, Sridhar is saying it is possible because it's based in spiritual experience. It is open to us to posit, okay, to posit, to affirm, to insist on, to lay down a law, to posit. From positive is the verb. To posit a witness self, one who is only watching and not doing anything. A silent soul in things, a Purusha who allows nature to do what she will and is content to reflect all her order and all her disorders in his passive and stainless consciousness. This is the Sankhya philosophy, okay, which says that, and also the Advaita philosophy, the second, the later Advaita philosophy says that Purusha is silent. He is the, as I told you, he is the vast white. White means not even white, because white is a color. Okay, it is a vast, impersonal, featureless existence which stretches out, and on this, the images of the physical world are being cast, just like in the cinema. Okay? In the earlier days, they used to say the world is reflected in the mirror. The mirror is the Purusha. The mirror is the Brahman consciousness. But that mirror doesn't have any edges. It's infinite. And the mirror is silent. It doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. It only reflects the images. So this is the very similar to the Plato theory also. Okay? The physical world, there is a sun behind, but all the shadows are falling on the back of the cave, and you are just seeing that and thinking that that's a reality. When you turn round and face the opening of the cave, then you see the reality, and you see that these shadows are only unreal forms. Okay? So this is another theory that is possible. Okay? We can, that philosophy also is possible. Where is it gone? Yeah. Or another third possibility also is talking of, okay? Or a supreme self-absolute, inactive, free from all relations, unconcerned with the works of the cosmic illusion or creation, which has mysteriously or paradoxically originated from it or over against it to tempt and afflict the world of temporal creatures. So this also is possible. Okay? And it's interesting what he's saying, to tempt and to afflict the world of temporal creatures. It is created an imperfection so that the creatures in the imperfect world try to reach the higher level. That is also another theory. Okay? The divine has created problems to help you. Okay, so there is some faint truth in it, but if you put it that way, then it can be countered with other arguments that, oh, divine could have found a better solution. What is this? He is imposing suffering on you so that you get out of suffering. What sort of a divine is this? In other place he argues, maybe in this chapter itself. Okay, so that's not a yeah, tell me.
In this sentence, from it, originated from it, or over against it. What does over against it mean?
Okay, so let's have a look at that. Okay.
So English formation, I
have. Yeah, here it is. Illusion of creation, which has mysteriously or paradoxically originated from it or over against it. That means it is connected. Okay, the first one is originated from it. It has connected with it, or over against it. It is connected, but it's an enemy.
Okay,
that's what it means. Okay, so, originated from it. In the first one, there is no against. Okay, I have come from my parent. Okay, the first one, but the child is now revolting against the parent. That's the second one. Over against it. In the first one, he has come. Okay, that's my father. Okay, the world is saying, yeah, I am different, but I don't contest it. The second one, he is revolting against it. So, originated from it or over against it. It's clear, no? And why has he done that? It is to tempt and afflict the world of temporal creatures. To tempt. And what is the temptation? Go to a higher level. Get rid of your suffering. But this is not a happy solution at all. He discusses this elsewhere also in Life Divine. All these, now he comes to all the solutions he discusses. He says, all these solutions do no more than reflect the apparent dissonance of the twofold experience. When you make your mind silent and go to the self, this is what you experience. There is Purusha, there is Prakriti, there is spirit, there is matter, there is perfection, there is imperfection. But the one who is experiencing that says, okay, fine, that's the nature of the physical world. We can do nothing about it. So what we can do? We can do the best we can. And what is the best we can do? Escape and go to the higher and ignore the lower. This is all the three solutions, the three problems that he has discussed, the three solutions to the problems of the undivine. He's saying that they are only stating the fact. And they are justified because they had the experience in the physical, in the spiritual planes of consciousness. You experience that, but Sridhar is not satisfied. Okay, it is true that you are experiencing, but that's not the only way of seeing. There are other ways of seeing. Okay, so that's what he said. But all these solutions do no more than reflect the apparent dissonance of the twofold experience. They just state the fact. They do not attempt to reconcile. Why? Because they have found the peace and they want to reject the lack of discord, the lack of harmony. They want to discard, and they're very happy with that. So they don't try to reconcile. neither do they solve or explain it. The Buddhists also fall in this category. They don't try to reconcile. Neither do they solve or explain it. They just say it's a mystery. Anirvachaniya, Maya. The Advaita philosophy also has a branch of that. Okay? It's a Maya. You can't explain. That is how it is. What can we do? Okay? So, we can't do anything about it. And so they say, sorry, okay, you guys giving the solution, I have another possibility. I will try and solve the problem. I will try and bridge the gap and make and show you that this imperfection is not permanent. It can be changed. And not only in philosophy, but he actually did that. He has brought down the supermind, and now the possibility of this imperfection becoming partially perfect is now a possibility. That is bringing down the supramental power, consciousness, and ananda into the physical world. It's only a question of time now. The evolution will make the Superman appear, and then the imperfection of the physical world will take one more step towards perfection. It's not that's what he's saying. So they don't attempt to reconcile, neither do they solve or explain it, but only reaffirm it by an open or covert dualism. Okay, so open dualism. Yes, there is imperfection and perfection. That's a fact of life, the fact of existence. Or covert dualism. You are hinting at it. Okay. No, the divine has created the imperfection. Okay. That's a covert dualism. Okay. An essential division. This covert dualism is interesting. Now we said that easy optimism. No? It falls in that category. Covert dualism. Covered. No, everything is okay. The divine is there everywhere. We read that, no? The Robert Browning's poem. Okay. The sky is blue and clear. The morning is coming. The darkness has changed to light. The bird is flying in the air. He is not limited. He has the capacity to fly. Everything is beautiful. And everything is fine. All's right with the world. Okay. So this is a covert dualism. Hidden. And an essential division of the indivisible. Practically, there is affirmed a dual Godhead, self or soul and nature. All these solutions, this is the fact. They are offering a solution which is not very satisfactory to Sri Aurobindo. To themselves it is satisfactory. Okay? That's the nature of the word. That's what they will tell you. Practically, there is affirmed a dual Godhead, self or soul and nature. But nature, now Sri Aurobindo is giving his own commentary. But nature, the power in things, cannot be anything else than a power of the self, the soul. Why? Because the divine has created the world, and I cannot accept that the divine will create something imperfect, because I have started with the Advaita philosophy that there is one who is perfect in every way. Omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence. So how can I accept that he has created the physical world of imperfection? I cannot. That's what he's saying. So the power that you see below, the prakriti that you see below, cannot be imperfect. It has been created by the divine. Her works cannot be altogether independent of soul and self. In other words, even the imperfection that you see has been created by the divine. Cannot be her own contrary result and working unaffected by its consent or refusal or a violence of mechanical force imposed on an inertia of mechanical passivity. He is giving many examples, but he is saying all that you see, the imperfection that you see in the physical world, has to be explained in another way, because it is the divine only who has done that. Explanation is necessary, and we will give the explanation. Okay, that's what he said. It is possible again to posit an observing inactive. This is another solution. It is possible again to posit an observing inactive self and an active creating Godhead. Now, even the lower, even the Prakriti is actually Godhead. One is inactive and the other is God only, but working and active. But this device cannot serve us, for in the end, these two must really be one in a dual aspect. It cannot be that they are absolutely unconnected. They have to be connected. The Godhead, the active aspect of the observing self, the self, a witness of his own Godhead in action. So this is what I am suggesting. I am suggesting that Godhead, in one case it is static, and in the other case he is watching himself working in the physical world. And when you are working in the physical world, these seeming imperfections come into the picture, okay? But they are not at all imperfections. You are seeing them as such, but it is action. It is there in time and space. And the other one is outside time and space. Therefore, you see it as perfect. But when you see it in time and space, it is being born and disappears. So you say, imperfect and transient. So therefore, you say imperfect. It is not imperfect. That's what says So, two Godheads. One is the divine, and the other is one is inactive and only watching, and the other is the same Godhead but in action. This also is a spiritual experience which is possible. That's what Ramakrishna also said. Okay? Ramakrishna said, there is this vast ocean of consciousness, of power, of Ananda. And when this ocean is static, it is God. And when this ocean is creating waves, it's the same ocean. And when the ocean is creating waves, it is the physical world. That's all. Okay. This also can be experienced. That's the thing that he is discussing here. It is possible again to posit an observing inactive self and an active creating Godhead. But this device cannot serve us, for in the end, these two must really be one in a dual aspect. So they're saying, okay, fine, that's fine, but I cannot accept that they are two separate things. They have to be the same in two different aspects. And an active creating Godhead. But this device cannot serve us. That means it cannot help me, because my theory is that everything is divine. In the end, these two must really be one in a dual aspect. There you are. So now he's saying there is a dual aspect of the divine. That also is another theory that is possible. Okay? A dual aspect. The Godhead, the active aspect of the observing self, the self a witness of his own Godhead in action. He is active, he is a divine. When he is inactive, he is the divine. When he is active in the physical world, he is the physical world. Okay? A discord, a gulf between the self in knowledge and the same self in his works needs explanation. This is what he says about Shankara also. Shankara says that it is the divine only in the physical world. But if you want the divine pure, without any action, you have to go to the above, you have to go about. Srendra is saying, no, you can get the divine even in the action. It's possible. You have to go deep and you will see that even in the action it's possible to get it. That's the reason why Srendra's philosophy says no running away from the physical world. Shankara and others saying, if you want the divine, you have to go up. The one below also is divine, but there is imperfection. Okay? Or again, we can posit a double consciousness of Brahman, the reality, one static and dynamic, one essential and spiritual, in which it is self, perfect and absolute, another formative, pragmatic, in which it becomes not self and with which its absoluteness and perfection have no concern of participation. This is Shankara's philosophy. Vyavaharika Satta and Paramarthika Satta. Vyavaharika Satta, the practical aspect of truth. And the other is the supreme essential truth. Parama Artha, supreme reality. So this is the Shankaran philosophy. For it's only a temporary formation in a timeless reality. The physical world is in time and space, and the one above is outside time and space. Now, Pasendra again criticizing the philosophy. But to us, who even if it is only half existent, half conscious, yet inhabit the absolute half dream of living and are compelled by nature to have in it a terrible and insistent concern and to deal with it as real, this wears the appearance of an obvious mystification. There is a problem that you have to solve, and that Shankara admits. He says it is Maya. Okay? You can't explain. Anirvachaniya, you cannot speak about it. It's a truth which is above the mind, mental level. You can't explain it by the mind. For this temporal consciousness in the physical world and its formations are also in the end a power of the one self. You can't explain because it is, both are really divine. Depend upon it, can exist only by it. What exists by the power of the reality cannot be unrelated to it, or that unrelated to the world of its own powers make it. So Swami is saying that I cannot accept that there is a dichotomy between the two. There is a contradiction between the two. I cannot accept that. What exists by the power of the reality cannot be unrelated to it, or that unrelated to the world of its own powers making. There has to be a connection. And I have to find the solution to that. And how does he find the solution? By going even higher up and going to the supermind. There the solution is there. At that level, you see the reality, that there is a connection between the two. If the world exists by the Supreme Spirit, so also its ordering and relations must exist by the power of the Spirit. Its law must be according to some law of the spiritual consciousness and existence. Okay, so. Existence. The self, the reality, this is the philosophy. The self, the reality, must be aware of and aware in the world consciousness which exists in its being. A power of the self, the reality, must be constantly determining or at least sanctioning its phenomena or operations. For there can be no independent power, no nature not derived from the original eternal self-existence. This is the theory we have started with, and we will stick to that and try to explain the mystery of the physical world. What is the mystery? The division, the divine and the undivine, which we see very, very clearly. So we will try to explain that, but our theory is there is no division at all. If it does no more, it must still be originating or determining the universe through the mere fact of its conscious omnipresence. If it does no more means the Purusha is not doing anything more than that. It must still be originating or determining the universe through the mere fact of its conscious omnipresence. The very fact that it is there, you can't escape the problem. You have to solve the problem. That's what he's saying in different words. It is no doubt a truth of spiritual experience that there is a status of peace and silence in the infinite behind the cosmic activity. He is admitting that these solutions are there because it's based in spiritual experience. A consciousness that is the immobile witness of the creation. But this is not the whole of spiritual experience. You can have another spiritual experience which is more inclusive. That's what he said. And we cannot hope to find in one side only of knowledge a fundamental and total explanation of the universe. You have to find a knowledge which unifies the two. And that I am positing to you, and I am saying very clearly that it is there in the supramental. Go higher up, you will find the solution to the problem of the divine and the undivine. So, big paragraph, and we have come to the end of the paragraph and also the end of the session. Next time, once we admit a divine government of the universe. So what happens? Now we are saying that the divine is governing the physical world. So now we have to solve the problem of, if he is governing, how is he allowing this imperfection in the physical world? So Srivandar will tell you in a very guarded way that there is no imperfection in the physical world. You are seeing the physical world in an imperfect way because your instruments of knowledge are limited. That is the solution. change your instruments of knowledge and you will see that the divine is very much here in the physical world. That's the whole thing. Okay? Even in the physical world, to give an example, okay, I can create illusions even on paper. Okay? I can draw two actually parallel lines, but I can create it in such a way that you will see them as if they are not parallel. Okay? These are the many interesting things. If you go to the internet and type out, okay, illusions, visual illusions, if you type, you will get all these different things. Okay? So, it's very interesting. There are many figures and many videos which show that your sight is not perfect at all. It can be deceived very easily. Okay, I think if you type visual illusions, you will get all these images. Okay, so yeah, that's right. So we stop here today. Next we'll do 416. Once we admit the divine God. Okay.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, au revoir everybody.